Coin traders, how we doing? Thanks for joining me for the show. Looking at Algorand ALGO on that ticker. Algo fam, what's going on? So, been about a week and a half since we have talked about Algorand, and did mention how we were going to need to see a little bit more of a pullback in a consolidation type formation, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. So, starting to form a little bit of a falling wedge here, which is extremely bullish. Typically, anyway, we do expect a bullish breakout, especially holding some of these supports here on the moving averages anyway. So looking at very nice price level supports as well for a close. So specifically looking at a very nice level of closing support coming in just below the 42-cent mark at about 41.64. So as you can see right now, current price point's 42.10. And for the last week or so, we have had very nice defense of this level without seeing a daily close below this level. And especially seeing nice support here in between the 12 and 26. Now you can see, if we go ahead and zoom in here on this 12-period EMA, that you can actually see how resistive we are starting to see this 12-period EMA being. So after having this daily candle that broke through it, did break above it, but then immediately gave it back, flipped it into confirmed and tested resistance. So right now, big resistance point up overhead at the 12-period EMA. Like we said, support though still coming in very strong on this price level here, just below 42 cents, and then obviously greatly supportive in between the 12 and 26 period exponential moving average. So big support zone here that we are finding. So that does mean that the 50 period still down below, looking very nice, and we're not necessarily that close right now to an immediate bearish cross on any of the daily time frames. If we actually go ahead and drop down into the 12-hour and zoom in on the current, you can see that right now we are looking a little bit more bearish with the 12 dropping below the 26, but still very nicely right now supported by the 50 period, which is always a little bit more relevant and important to hold as support since it does reflect longer-term trends. Now, while we're looking at this 12-hour chart, just want to highlight too how on the current we talked about the 41.64 support. So on the 12-hour, you can see lost out a little bit since we were holding very nice support on this level. But on the current day with just about an hour and 15 left as of time of recording, looking like the potential is there to see a close on top of that level. Obviously, though, we still are seeing rejection and resistance from the 12 and 26, both extremely resistive overhead, obviously now especially too, being that the 12 has crossed bearish below the 26. But yeah, we are looking at a big upper wick here, zero shadow, but that's kind of a relevancy of when we actually reset the 12-hour candlestick. So most importantly, are looking at the big upper wick here showing that resistance and rejection. But if we do actually see prices maintain a close on top of this resistance, or excuse me, support level, then pretty much we're going to invalidate the last pullback, especially since on the daily, that's still going to be maintaining a very nice daily close on top of this level. Now, on the 12-hour, do have pretty good looking technical indicators. So first, want to look at the RSI Relative Strength Index. So if we go ahead and zoom out, you can just see how far overextended we actually were. But because we actually were seeing the price kind of oscillate sideways and not really having the stochastic, or excuse me, the RSI exponential moving average go really up or down, we actually saw very nice growth potential and opportunity, but we do know that we do have to normalize at some point, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. So a pullback below the exponential moving average for the RSI. Right now, we are starting to see the RSI get very close and tight to actually flipping this and changing the trend back bullish. So that could be another very good thing as we do look at completing this falling wedge type pattern for Algorand. So additionally, too, on this 12-hour chart, if we go ahead and look at stochastic RSI on the bottom on this pullback, so we are needing to see this oscillated break back to the upside. That should give a lot of upside pressure here to this price direction as well, once we actually smash through this 12 and 26 period resistance. And in addition from that, we are also looking at a potential for this MACD moving average convergence and divergence to actually see a bullish cross as well. Because as you see, histogram bars are trending back towards the zero line. We're going to be looking at a very nice potential for the MACD line to get close and flip bullish on top of the signal line here. So we do have resistance at 12 and 26, but we also have a downtrend resistance line that we're still looking to go ahead and break. So once this line actually breaks, then that'll look extremely good. But as long as we do still maintain downside support, especially on this 50-period EMA right now, chances of a very nice bullish break are going to be heightened, especially after falling sell pressure and volume, meanwhile maintaining some low supports. So really, we are looking at a potential for an increased likelihood here soon in the near to short-term future of a very nice bullish break. So What we want to see in that instance is a lot of bullish volume coming in on this breakout, confirming these resistance zones as broken, because right now we do have the big resistance lines kind of intersecting right around each other and does come in right around the 43-cent mark. So the 12, the 26, and then also this downtrend mark. So if we can see a hold and a nice bullish break, that's going to be one of the best case scenarios that we can see. Otherwise, if we do actually see a little bit more resistance, potential is higher for a little bit more falling and a little bit more sell-off in that instance. Now, looking at the weekly chart, hugely overextended, but we know that right now does lead to a little bit more consolidation or a pullback, especially after such big gains. So especially with Bitcoin seeing new all-time highs right now, but we know that the amount that a lot of the altcoins have run has just shown a lot of improvement and increase over the Bitcoin chart. And that's kind of why right now we're not necessarily worried about anything, because it is normal and standard after such a huge run-up to actually see a little bit more consolidation on the longer term, and that's exactly what we're expecting in order to allow this nice bullish weekly exponential moving average setup to see a little bit more continuation, catch up to the price, provide that support in that guide, and allow the trend to continue higher up. Looking at the 2-day chart, really do like the 2-day chart for most cryptos, especially altcoins. Very nice support right now, maintaining on top this 12-period EMA. As you can see, ever since we did have our nice big bullish cross coming off of this low, and this big rally, and once again, we were looking at a very big upside rally that was all the way up to almost a 6x return here from the bottom. So very nice opportunity to cool down, and especially this consolidation pattern that we're looking at right now, finding a lot of support despite this big bearish sell-off candle and a little bit of a bounce. This is a very nice setup right now, though, seeing these 3 candles actually fit with inside the body of the bullish candle that we saw. In addition, a lot of lower downside shadows on these candles in small bodies. So despite the fact that they are a bearish candle, still seeing not that much sell-off pressure and a little bit more dip buying from the bulls, especially in defense of this 12-period EMA, which hasn't actually been tested since we've had this nice bullish cross, like we said. Now looking at technicals on the 2-day, a little bit of a pullback coming on the RSI, all normal, so we could see this actually drop, or we could see another rally upside move, allowing this exponential moving average to still maintain sideways, kind of like we saw on the 12-hour chart on the run-up. Now the next thing, though, is that we're actually looking at a very nice potential for a bullish cross on the stochastic RSI. So the last time we actually saw the stochastic RSI get this low, we were looking at prices back in August when we actually saw most of the altcoin space bottom out here, and then it has been mostly upside ever since on the longer term. So we could be looking at a very nice potential, especially confirming support on these EMAs, as well as a very nice bullish continuation pattern to see a lot more upside in that instance, allowing the bullish cross on the stochastic RSI and pushing prices and the oscillator back to the upside. But obviously, if you do look just below that, we can see how the MACD is playing out right now. About to get a bearish cross on the MACD with bars dropping down, approaching the 0 line here. So we do know that we are going to potentially see that bearish cross. But we also know that on the longer term, it's a very laggy indicator. So we do think a lot of that is going to be based already on the trend and the pullback here, because we still have pulled back a significant amount. So from the high, we're still looking at a 31% pullback. And even if we look at a Fibonacci retracement, we're still pulling back right around to a healthy level, the 38.2, very nice level to defend. Obviously pulling back price level wise to the 50% retracement at 36.01. So a very good, strong zone for a continuation to play out. And this is exactly what we want to see in these type of nice, healthy trends. Now, dropping into the shorter term 4-hour here before we go ahead and wrap up. And so we were in a very nice 4-hour trend. And if you do remember over on my Twitter, I actually talked about how the 4-hour trend was the most relevant for Algorand. And so we did actually break and put a low in below this 50-period EMA. Lower high came in and then a lower low. So are confirming that the trend high is in. And obviously now starting to see a little bit more of that action. But the thing that's very nice about this setup on the 4-hour is that if we go in and we actually zoom in on the areas where the exponential moving averages are in the bearish formation. So we do have the 12 going below the 26, and then both of those now fully below the 50. So a full bearish with the 12, the 26, and then the 50 on top. But the thing about these as an indicator is that the closer they are together, the less strong they are as a potential zone for that level as resistance or support. So what I mean by this is that if we actually go ahead and zoom out and look at the uptrend, we can see how much space we actually started to get in between, for example, the 12 and then the 50. So right now, despite being in a bearish formation and setup, because they're still so close together, that's not as bearish as if we were getting increasing and growing distance and gaps between the 12, the 26, and the 50. So typically, this is exactly what we see when we do have pullbacks like this that do flip bearish on the shorter term, but still maintain bullish uptrends on the longer term. So this is exactly what we want to see as a pattern and a sign and signal to let us know that this is playing out in a little bit more of a bullish continuation pattern on the longer term, and that we're not necessarily as worried about this being the long-term trend high coming in just to see the trend reverse and pull back prices even further. Now, obviously, to say that's not necessarily impossible just because it's not typical. So we always still have to be very aware and mindful that that is a potential scenario and obviously another potential for risk. So if we actually look at resistance points right now, we can see kind of how we're looking at overall this pattern on the 4-hour playing out. So current resistance, this area of sideways consolidation had the heart line going right through it, and then now finding support and then finding support. So if this trend line does break to the downside and we do lose support about 42 cents down to the current 4-hour close of about 38.5, that's going to be a very big bearish downside signal as well. And then probably in that instance, we'll look at actually seeing these gaps between all of the exponential moving averages on the shorter term increasing, which does mean a test of some of the long-term EMA supports being tested to confirm some of these longer trends to play out. But like we said, though, with Bitcoin, it's seeing all-time highs right now, hitting over 107,000. We are looking at potential for a very, very, very nice upside move for the altcoins here and a very nice incoming altcoin season after we do see a little bit more slowing momentum for Bitcoin. So overall, we could still see a little bit more time retracing, going sideways, pulling back, testing some supports out of the altcoins and Algorand. Definitely not abnormal and something we are shocked and surprised to see, especially when we have plenty of established resistances and upside directional stoppage here happening. So overall, not really going to be expecting anything exciting here happening too soon. Do still have a lot of work on the shorter term in order to actually start that upside momentum again, and especially after such a big sell-off without an immediate reversal and bounce. So right now, all is expected, all is well, and all is normal. So just be patient on the coming timeframes. But otherwise, yeah, that is going to go ahead and wrap up our show for today on Algorand, ALGO on that ticker. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And if you have not already, drop a comment or note down in the section below. Do love getting back to each and every one of you, or a message over on Twitter at @coin_trades. That's it for now, though, so stay safe, take care. Thanks for all the continued love and support as always, and I will catch you back in the next video.